When you marry someone, you tell yourself you're marrying the person, not their family. But sometimes the family refuses to let go. Sometimes they don't just visit your marriage, they move right in, uninvited, and start rearranging the furniture. That was exactly what happened with me. My name is Maritha Keene, and I learned the hard way that love might blind you, but family dynamics will wake you up faster than heartbreak ever could. When I first met Evan, I didn't think much about his mother. She lived a few hours away in the coastal town of Baygrove, and though he spoke about her often, his tone always carried a hint of exhaustion. "She's just particular," he'd said once, carefully choosing the word. "She wants things a certain way." I thought he meant she liked her towels folded properly or her garden pruned just so. What he actually meant was that she had built her world around him, and anything that threatened that world was automatically an enemy. I became that enemy the day he slipped a ring on my finger. The first time I met Elaine, she was wearing pearls, the real kind, not the costume jewelry you see at department stores. Her lipstick was the kind of red that makes you feel underdressed even when you're not. She smiled, but her eyes measured me like she was appraising an antique. "So, you're the woman who finally caught my son," she'd said. I laughed awkwardly, trying to take it as a compliment. "I suppose so. He's always been easily swayed by kindness," she added, sipping her wine. "He sees the good in people, sometimes too much." I should have seen it then, the quiet challenge in her words, the implication that I was some kind of manipulator who'd used charm to lure her son away. But I brushed it off. After all, she was his mother. Surely she'd warm up in time. But Elaine didn't thaw. She sharpened. The first few months after the wedding were fine, even pleasant. She'd send care packages, little notes with home-baked cookies or fruit preserves, always signed "Love Mom" to both of you. I thought she was trying, but soon the sweetness started tasting strange. She'd call Evan at odd hours, complaining about feeling so lonely lately, reminding him how she'd always been there for him. Then, one afternoon, she dropped by our house unannounced, with a suitcase. "The repairs at my condo are taking longer than expected," she said breezily, walking in like she owned the place. "It's just for a week." That week stretched into 2, then a month, and suddenly she wasn't a guest anymore. She was a shadow, gliding around our home, inserting herself into every moment. I'd wake up to find her making breakfast for Evan, humming some tune from his childhood. She'd reorganize the kitchen drawers for efficiency. Once I found her in our bedroom folding my laundry. "Oh, don't mind me," she'd said with that saccharine tone. "You work so hard, just helping out." It wasn't help, it was surveillance. Every conversation I had with Evan somehow circled back to her. "You know, Mom mentioned you seem distant lately," he'd say one night. "She worries you're not happy." "She worries I'm not happy?" I repeated. "Or that you are?" He sighed, looking tired. "Don't start, Riss. She's just trying to help." I started to feel like an intruder in my own home. Every time I walked into a room, I'd find her whispering to Evan or pretending to text. Her phone was always in her hand. One night, while clearing the dinner table, I noticed her phone left unlocked on the counter. A message preview flashed across the screen. The sender's name froze me. Connor Blake. My ex. I hadn't spoken to Connor in years. The message read, "She still acts like she's better than everyone, doesn't she?" My pulse kicked. I scrolled up before I could stop myself. Message after message, all from Elaine. "You were right, Connor. She's manipulative. She's using him, just like she used you. He deserves better. Someone loyal, someone who won't make him feel small." My throat went dry. She had been messaging my ex for months, planting lies, rewriting history, painting me as some deceitful woman who jumped from one man to another. It wasn't just gossip. She was trying to dismantle my marriage from the inside out. I took a shaky breath and backed away. Later that night, I tried to tell Evan. "She's been talking to Connor," I said quietly. "I saw the messages." "What?" He looked up from his laptop, frowning. That doesn't make sense. It does, Evan. She's been lying to him. About me. About us. She's trying to drive a wedge between us. He rubbed his temples. Marissa, this sounds paranoid. Mom would never. You don't believe me? I think you're overreacting. She might have said something out of concern. Concern? I snapped. She's plotting with my ex-boyfriend. Don't raise your voice. The distance in his tone hit me like a slap. That's when I realized she'd already succeeded. Elaine didn't need to scream or threaten. She just needed to plant a seed. Doubt would do the rest. For the next few weeks, I stopped confronting her. I smiled at her over dinner, nodded at her small jabs, and pretended I didn't notice the way Evan's calls to her grew longer while our conversations shrank. But I was done playing defense. I started collecting everything: screenshots of messages, bank transfers she'd made to Connor under fake consultation labels, even recordings from the home camera that caught her sneaking into Evan's study. The final piece came one afternoon when I intercepted a message from Connor. He's starting to see the truth. Keep pushing. My heart stopped. She was still feeding him lies, and Evan was believing them. That night, I made my move. While Elaine was away on one of her retreats, I printed every message, every screenshot, every ugly little proof of her manipulation. I organized them neatly into a folder and mailed them, not to her, but to Evan, with a handwritten note, "Read before she returns." I didn't sleep that night. I half expected him to call, to yell, to accuse, but he didn't. 3 days later, Elaine came home. I was sitting in the living room when I heard the front door open. Her cheerful voice floated in. "Evan, sweetheart, I'm back," followed by the sound of her suitcase rolling across the floor. Then silence. A heavy, cutting silence. When I looked up, Evan was standing in the hallway, holding the printed messages. His face was pale, eyes hollow. Elaine froze. "Evan, what's that?" He didn't answer. He just handed her the folder. She flipped through it, and I watched the color drain from her face. "This isn't what it looks like," she began, her voice trembling. "Oh, I think it's exactly what it looks like," he said coldly. "You were conspiring with Marissa's ex to sabotage our marriage. You lied to me. You lied to her. I was protecting you," she snapped suddenly, her mask cracking. "She's not who you think." Enough. The word came out low, final. He turned away, leaving her standing there with the papers clutched in her shaking hands. That night, she packed her bags again, but this time, no one offered to help. When the door closed behind her, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. She wasn't just gone. The tension she'd built, the constant manipulation, had evaporated with her. It took months for Evan and me to rebuild trust. Sometimes I'd still catch him staring off quietly, the guilt in his eyes saying everything words couldn't. "I should have believed you," he'd say. "You trusted her," I'd reply. "That's not a crime. But now you see her for who she really is." Elaine tried to reach out later. Letters, voicemails, even showing up once at Evan's office. He never responded. Eventually, she moved back to Baygrove permanently. I heard she joined some community board and tried to reshape her image as a mentor. Maybe that's how she justifies it to herself, that everything she did was out of love. But love doesn't try to destroy someone's life. It doesn't whisper lies into the ears of the people you care about most. Love doesn't need control to exist. I sometimes look back and wonder what she hoped to gain. Maybe she believed if she could tear me down, she'd get her son back, frozen in time, hers forever. But people change, and the moment she tried to manipulate our future, she lost her place in it. A year later, Evan and I renewed our vows quietly on the beach. Just us, no guests, no chaos. The sky turned gold as the waves brushed against our feet, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe without waiting for something to shatter. As he took my hand, I thought about how close we came to losing everything, not because of infidelity or distance, but because of poison disguised as concern. Some betrayals are loud and obvious. Others wear pearls and call you dear. But in the end, truth has its own way of surfacing. And when it does, it doesn't just clear the air, it purifies it. Elaine taught me many things, though not in the way she intended. She taught me how manipulation hides behind smiles, how silence can be a weapon, and how strength sometimes means staying composed while you dismantle someone's lies piece by piece. Most importantly, she taught me that revenge doesn't always come from rage. Sometimes it comes from the quiet satisfaction of knowing that the truth, once exposed, needs no defense. It stands on its own. The night after she left for good, I found one of her old notes tucked in a drawer. "Family is everything," it read. I smiled faintly and burned it in the sink. Because family is everything, but only when it's built on love, not control. And for the first time, my home finally felt like mine again.
You've just stepped into her revenge side, where every wound finds its justice, and every silence ends with truth. If her story struck a chord, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Another secret waits in the next video. See how her revenge begins.